Cheers to Helena.
Cheers to Puck.
Cheers to Hermia. Ew.
Oh, I kind of liked that.
Oh, ew.
Ooh.
Story Stack's first bourbon shot. Clearly, there are mixed reviews.
I mean, it was rough, but I liked it. I can see the look on Ansley's face.
It's like if vodka went bad.
Call that a Midsummer Night's Nightmare.
Ew.
Welcome back to Story Stack, y'all. Ansley usually introduces
took
the
my
episode, but
It's
clearly
chaos.
she's dying. No, wait, we'll let her take over. We'll
Ansley,
let her
run it
take
back.
That was so rude. And then I think all of that.
Welcome back to Story Stack.
Hey!
Story Stack.
It's like book club.
But it's more than books, and it's not quite a club. Welcome back to Story Stack. This is Ansley introducing like she always does.
I'm Gabriel.
And I'm Lily.
And dear listener, this is the final episode of season 1 of Story Stack.
Woo!
If you've made it this far, we really appreciate having you here. And as a final send-off, we're back with a Cocktails and Classics episode. Today's classic is William Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. And our drink, Lily, if you want to take it from here.
This is a bourbon-based drink, which, if you didn't know from the intro, is something we haven't done before in this podcast. We're all a little scared. But it is muddled mint, blackberries, lime juice, bourbon, topped with club soda. And we're about to see how good it is. And it feels very much foresty. Like it's this pretty purple and green color. So it's giving forest. It's giving fairies. It's giving dreams with the mint floating around. Hopefully it tastes good. Literally immediately got a blackberry seed stuck in the straw and didn't get a seed.
No, it tastes great. This is a good one, Lily. Good job.
I think me and bourbon are enemies.
Much like Helena and Hermia.
No, those girls are lovers. Those girls are lovers, okay?
Yeah, wait. That's so funny because after reading it, my main takeaway from this entire thing is that if Lysander and Demetrius had just kissed, I think it would have solved everything.
Honestly, I was thinking, like, if we just get cool with some things real quick, like, we can solve this entire situation, okay?
The disaster polycule strikes again.
All right. So in the nature of Cocktails and Classics, these episodes are here to prove to you that classics are not scary. They are something that you can laugh with a friend over a drink with, even if that drink is awful because it's made with bourbon.
Hater.
And for this one, Gabriel has a resident Shakespeare expert that he's friends with who is actually majoring in Shakespeare.
Actually, he got his degree.
He has his degree in Shakespeare. So we're going to let Gabriel take the lead on this episode.
Shout outs to one of my closest friends, Alex Albrecht. I've known him since childhood. He has a degree in theater with a focus in Shakespeare. He performed Shakespeare. He was at one point a part of a traveling Shakespeare group that went around the Midwest performing shows all over. And for the purposes of this episode, we're doing Midsummer Night's Dream. I contacted Alex and we had like a 2-hour conversation just explicitly about Midsummer Night's Dream and the sheer like depths that you can get into analyzing a work like this, which is funny in a sense because I will say this, bar none, this is Shakespeare's most approachable work. You can... If you see a production of Midsummer, which there usually is, it's very popular. If you see a production of Midsummer happening near you, you can just show up and have a good time, and there's no prerequisite. However, if you want to get deep into it, oh boy, is there depth.
Yeah, me and Lily both echo that statement a lot. Neither one of us were strangers to Shakespeare before we read this one. This was not our first Shakespeare experience. But it is, I think, the easiest one to get into because of how simple it reads. We'll get into it later. But to me, this is just a Real Housewives episode. Like, it's so straightforward. It's basically a soap opera. Really easy to digest.
My introduction to Shakespeare was actually Much Ado About Nothing. My class read it in 8th grade, which I think is a little early for like most American school systems to be introducing their kids to Shakespeare. Like I want to say like freshman year is the standard for reading Romeo and Juliet, but middle school is like a bit, iffy in there. I remember Much Ado About Nothing being quite simple and fun. This play, now potentially it's because I read it in a day, okay? Not rushing. Like I really did take my time. I have annotations there, but I was just like, so this is a bunch of like nonsense kind of happening, and Shakespeare's really going, it doesn't have to make sense. It's magical. And I mean, you've got the plot of the king getting married to this queen, and there's that storyline going on. You have this plot of these fairies that are like with this other fairy king, not the king that's getting married, but it's the fairy king and the fairy queen have like their plot with this with this fairy named Puck. But then there's these clowns that are putting on a play, and you kind of get to see a bit of them before every act, and you're like, what in the world is going on? And then these clowns, literally clowns, I'm not even like joking here.
The name of their troupe is the Rude Mechanicals.
And they literally are clowns. And they're all given these like magical weird, like they're given these characters to play in this play. But then each of the clowns also has a name. So it's like they're playing. It's a lot of names to keep track of. So as far as like most accessible, there is like, it's a bit convoluted. I would not just say like pick up a Shakespeare book and like have fun. But there are luckily editions that have notes and stuff on the bottom. So like if you are trying to get into Shakespeare for the first time, there is no going into it completely
That's the bourbon.
The shot of bourbon.
That's the bourbon.
There's no going into it without any sort of foundation. You need either footnotes or some sort of like cheat sheet to kind of get through your first work of Shakespeare. Like this is even my 5th time like reading a Shakespearean play, and like even I had to pause at moments to kind of remember how like certain things went. It's not a book that is the most accessible classic ever, but it is doable and it's short.
And I think that brings up a good point. Obviously for any book, but I think more so with Shakespeare's work. Figuring out whatever way makes it easy enough for you to understand is like the key to this. Lily and I were sort of debating, or not debating, but just sort of like comparing the ways that we read it. I have an edition with footnotes. I've also found that the structure of Shakespeare's sentences just naturally kind of goes against the way that my brain understands things. So when I read, in this, a long section of dialogue, I just read it really fast, even if I'm kind of confused, because by the point, once I get to the end of a sentence or the end of a speech, can't say paragraph. Once I get to the end of a speech, it makes sense to me. Like I see where we're going with it. And then sometimes I'll go back and reread once I know where we're going to make it make more sense. But I know Lily reads it differently. I'm sure Gabriel reads it differently. Reading a Shakespeare really just comes down to you knowing your reading style and what will make it make sense to you.
So there's a huge asterisk that needs to be put on exactly this discussion, and that's that Shakespeare was not a writer of books. He was not a writer of poetry. He was a writer of plays. So the most digestible way that any Shakespeare work exists is watching it as a play. So if you do pick up A Midsummer Night's Dream and you find yourself confused at a point, a great example for me, when I was reading through it this time, we'll do plot synopsis here in a second, but there's a point where the character Bottom, who is a part of the Rude Mechanicals, his head gets turned into a donkey head. It's very funny. The way that is portrayed in reading the actual script of the book is almost like a hand wave. Like you almost don't even realize it happens. Puck is the one who does it. And when you're reading it, like I had to go back like 3 times. Like, what happened to this guy? And like I thought his head getting turned into a donkey's head was metaphorical for a second. I was like, oh no, his head literally got turned into a donkey's head. If you were watching this as a play, you would have no question about what happened. That guy got turned into a donkey.
I didn't realize it until a bit later, and I kind of had to go back because there's this note that the fairy king, or this line that the fairy king says that is like, oh my gosh, it's so funny, she's fallen in love with an ass. The queen, because there's these love potions going on in there, and the fairy king wants to sort of like get at the fairy queen by making her fall in love with some like silly, atrocious like thing. And we'll get into these love potions in just a second, but basically the fairy king tells Puck, this fairy, to give the fairy queen a love potion, and then she falls in love with a donkey. And like one of the running jokes is that she's fallen in love with an ass.
And that sounds convoluted. That sounds very tricky. So maybe it's time we give you the plot synopsis. The play opens with Theseus and Hippolyta 4 days out from their wedding. These are dukes in Athens, like they're high up, they're royalty basically. They're just sort of having a conversation about their upcoming wedding. As a high-ranking official, Theseus will regularly host court, hear from people within his domain, sort out issues as rulers would do during that time. In comes, is it Aegeus? Is that how we say his name?
Aegeus.
Aegeus comes in. This is an older man of Athens with his daughter and 2 young men. His daughter is not Helena. I'm blanking.
Hermia.
His daughter, Hermia, he has promised her to Demetrius as his wife. They've set this up. Demetrius loves Hermia, like he wants to do this. Except Hermia is in love with Lysander. Lysander is in love with Hermia. They have things figured out. But because of the law in this time, Aegeus's and Demetrius's agreement is the legally binding one. Theseus basically asks Hermia, he's like, you have 3 options. 1, you do what you're told. 2, you swear an oath to Diana, which was the goddess of the hunt. She had a whole, like, I don't want to say cult, because it wasn't a cult, but it kind of was. Kind of was. She had a devout group of followers, all women who kind of like nuns a little bit. Like they believe in Diana and they forswear any sort of like romantic relationship with a man. So she can do that or she can die. And those are her options. That's bullshit. So Hermia's like, no. And she and Lysander come up with a plan to run away.
There is actually like a line, I want to say, in the play that explicitly kind of says, are you ready to live the life of a nun? Like, do you want to live? Like, nuns are mentioned. So it is basically this life where you don't marry anyone, don't have any romantic relationships with anyone. You just kind of commit your existence to the gods.
Listener, I know you're probably already confused. Long story short.
Our listeners are smart. They're not confused.
Hey, I did not say that. I know our listeners are smart. I'm, however, drunk. So, long story short, there is Demetrius, there is Lysander. They're both 2 boys, and Lysander is in love with Hermia. Demetrius is also in love with Hermia. There is another woman named Helena who is in love with Demetrius, but Demetrius does not give a shit about her. That's where the play starts.
And Helena and Hermia are like friends. So that's also the connection to all of them.
And so we have this sort of love square going on.
It's like a love line because nobody loves
It's all
Helena.
over the place.
Poor Helena.
Poor Helena. I love her.
I do too.
I love her. My girl.
I would stab that bitch.
So Hermia coded.
Exactly. Okay. No, most of my, a lot of my annotations are actually Helena's lines. And because she's just so funny. Also, still very much in love with Hermia. Like, there is this whole speech that Helena goes on with Hermia saying, you are so beautiful. If your beauty will last forever. I will always see it. I look into your eyes. Something about tongues touching. Okay.
Love tongues touching. Love hanging out with my bros and touching tongues.
And then she follows it up with like how much she loves Demetrius. And I'm like, no, girl.
So all of this aside, while all of this is going on, Hermia and Lysander have admitted to Helena that they have a plan to run away. That's where we leave off with those characters. Then we pivot to the fairy kingdom. We have King Oberon, who is married, I guess. I don't know if the fairies get married.
They're
but
married. Yeah.
His queen, Titania, they're beefing like bad because Titania has taken a changeling child for those that aren't aware with fairy custom, it was believed that when you, as a human, had a child that was like decent and then they just were bad, which is just a child thing to do for the record. They were being children. People at that time believed that they had been replaced with a fairy child, and they called that a changeling. So Titania has taken a child.
Also, weird product of the time. The changeling child is explicitly Indian. Like they make a very Shakespeare is a very strong point in the play. Like, yes, the Indian changeling child. That's just a product of the time.
It's not just children, I think, going evil too. I want to say that a part of like fairy culture was also the changeling could be really sick and just die very quickly. So I think it was also maybe a way to cope with like your child dying at a very young age, was just to maybe assume that it was swapped out with a changeling that was very weak and couldn't survive.
Mm-hmm. But all that to say, Titania takes a child. She has this child. She's obsessed with it. Oberon has no problem with her taking the child, but he wants the child too, so that he can like train him to be loyal to Oberon and like have a. I don't think he uses the word knight, does he?
No, it's
like servant. He wants
he just wants this
an
kid.
underling.
He wants this kid too. Titania won't let him have him. Like, line in the sand, will not do it. And so they're beefing. All of this is going on. You're introduced to a character named Puck, who's probably the funniest character, I would say.
Puck.
He's sort of like Oberon's right hand of sorts. So Oberon goes to Puck and he's like, hey, I want you to slip Titania. It's a love potion, but it's something that like they're putting on her eyes.
It's applied to the eyes, but it is a love potion.
So that whatever random thing she wakes up to next, whether it's like I'm trying to think of the things that he actually says.
I think
like
a goose
boar,
is brought up.
A goose, like random shit. Whatever she wakes up to next, she's going to fall in love with, and it'll be so embarrassing, and I'll get my revenge because she won't let me have the kid.
I need to take a second to point out, it's almost not revenge. It's just kind of Oberon playing a prank. That's the way it's presented. Like the fairy people are just so whimsical that Oberon is just like, my wife has done me wrong. What if I pranked her with a love potion?
Mm-hmm. So very, very lighthearted revenge, we'll say.
Lighthearted
revenge. The problem lies in the fact, and this is where all of the storylines converge, and this is only maybe, I think my copy had 66 pages. This is like page 20 that all of this ends up converging. You get thrown into it pretty quickly. Hermia and Lysander are running away. They've told Helena that they're meeting in this one glen. Oberon and Titania and Puck happen to be in this one glen. Helena, trying to get Demetrius's favor, rats on
Hermia.
I keep blanking on it. Rats on Hermia and Lysander.
Your favorite girl. And you can't even remember
I think
her
it's just
name.
I become her so much that I forget she has her own name.
That was an incredible interjection. Wow.
Listen,
anyway.
if anyone was going to be Hermia, like, would it not be the 4-9 queen over here?
This is true.
But you're the one underlining all of Helena's quotes.
You know what? I do love Helena. Okay, she is my girl.
Is Lily a self-hating 4-9 queen?
Damn. Anyways, this is Story Stack, not therapy. So back to what we were talking about. Helena has told Demetrius she's ratted on Hermia and Lysander. So all of these characters are meeting in the same part of the woods at the same time. Important context, because again, this was meant to be seen visually. So reading it, you can sometimes miss it. The fairies can turn invisible. So they spy on these people. That's really important context.
Don't forget the entire play troupe that is also there converging, the Rude Mechanicals.
Yes. Okay, so the play is also happening.
There's play within a play.
Play within a play.
As if that's not convoluted.
Mm-hmm.
All of this, again, sounds convoluted. When you're reading it, it flows pretty well.
Does it?
It does. Lily,
I think
it does.
Listen, the first time I read the play, I was like, what are we doing? I need my girl Helena back on the
But you understood what was
page.
happening.
Ish. Okay, and then there were too many names being thrown around. It's like clown named Snaggletooth. You're actually going to be playing a character named Tinklebutt, okay?
Okay, you're giving out fairy names right now, and those are not rude mechanical names. I am offended.
I finished my drink already, guys.
That's crazy, actually.
I
pretty
didn't like it
close.
that much.
I keep hitting blackberries in my straw.
And I found that drinking it with your straw like on the higher end will actually help you avoid that a little bit. Anyway, I was reading it. I was like pulled out for a moment because I'm like, what does this have to do with anything? And they're rehearsing a play for the wedding of the Athenian
Theseus and Hippolyta's
wedding. Okay. So that is kind of the pull-outs that you get between acts a little bit. And you don't necessarily know how it's all going to come together at the very end of the play. And it does. But in the moment, I'm like, what is happening to my peoples over here? Okay. Why is my girl Helena not getting love? Okay. Why is Demetrius blind? Also, Lysander and Hermia are trying to run away, and Helena is actually a snitch, okay? So, like, love my girl, but, like, why are you snitching like that? Like, why do you want someone that doesn't want you?
Long story short, at this point in the play, after everybody converges, the love drama goes crazy. There are people getting love potioned left and right. Lysander falls for...
So, okay.
Yeah,
it's basically
one
one big miscommunication. Again, the fairies can be invisible, so all of these people are in the Glen. Oberon is watching Helena, who is in love with Demetrius, but Demetrius couldn't give a fuck about Helena. He's watching them interact, and he feels so bad for Helena for some reason. He's just entertained by it.
Because my girl's hot, okay? My girl's hot, and she's not getting any.
I don't think it's ever clarified as to why Oberon cares at all, other than just it's entertaining.
He's so whimsical. He's whimsical.
He's just into it. So he tells Puck, he's like, hey, I feel really bad for that girl. Go and give that guy the same love potion that you gave Titania so that he'll love her back. But he doesn't know their names. And the only way that he describes this man to Puck is that he's going to be wearing Athenian clothing. Guess who else is in the Glen wearing Athenian clothing? Our man Lysander, who is deeply in love with Hermia, and that love is reciprocated. Puck finds Hermia and Lysander like sleeping together in the Glen.
Actually apart.
Sleeping.
Okay, it's a big thing that they are actually sleeping like multiple feet apart. Like they are not right next to each other. And this is important for the love potion.
And so Puck gives Lysander the love potion, except this time it's not a love potion that just like whatever he sees when he first wakes up, he's going to be in love with. It's specifically so that he will love Helena. So now, instead of both of these boys loving Hermia, they are desperately in love with Helena. Except Helena's like, you guys fucking suck. You're all just making fun of me, and you guys are a bunch of bitches.
This is why she's my queen.
Well, did we take a break to explain that Puck gives the potion to Lysander, and then Oberon goes, oh no, that wasn't the right one. And then he's like, but that's kind of fun though. Like, give it to the other dude. And
this is why Puck is my king.
And we're going to have some fun. Like, imagine the drama is basically what he said.
Yeah.
He's like, this will be great drama. Let's do it.
Yeah. That is an important side note. Thank you for that. So now we're back on the stage. And then comes my favorite section in the play. Okay, so Hermia finds all three of them together. It gets nasty because, Helena thinks that Hermia is in on this, and she's convinced these two guys that were in love with Hermia to, play a prank on Helena. For some reason, everybody starts insulting Hermia's height. I don't know if height was a very big, a huge insult during Shakespeare's time. Don't really get why that was what we went for, but they start going for it because Hermia's small. One of Lily's favorite quotes. I'll let you say it.
Though she be but little, she is fierce.
Hermia's little. They start attacking her for her height. At one point, Hermia starts dogging on Helena because Helena's tall, and she throws that back in her face. And I have to read this from it because it's so fantastic. This is Hermia talking to Helena. And are you grown so high in his esteem because I am so dwarfish and so low? How low am I, though painted maypole? Speak, how low am I? I am not yet so low, but that my nails can reach unto thine eyes. This bitch is like, I'm tall enough to claw your eyes out. And I think that's just so fantastic. She's not playing. And then this is where I just don't like Helena anymore. She immediately turns back to the guys and she's like, save me. She's getting violent. She's so mean, even though she started it.
It's just funny to me that they are all like upset at Hermia for some reason. Like, why are they dogging on Hermia in the first place? Poor girl was like found the love of her life, and now suddenly he doesn't love her. She's confused as to why he loved her like 5 seconds ago and doesn't love her anymore. And you would think Helena, as someone who is not under any love potion, mind you, that she would be like, girl, I don't know why your man is suddenly in love with me. I'm just happy that my man is in love with me, okay? You can have Lysander. No, instead, Helena's all like, actually, let me have both. Like, you're short. You're short. Get out of my face. And it just is not the reaction that you would think is reasonable.
See, and it's so fantastic because the end of that scene, Helena says to Hermia, your hands than mine are quicker for a fray. My legs are longer, though, to run away. So she's like, all right, you can fight better, but I can run faster, so bye. And then Hermia says to herself, because everybody else in the scene has left. She's on stage. She goes, I'm amazed and know not what to say. She's like, I have no words for this bitch. To me, the key to reading Shakespeare, as we said before, is just imagine that this is Real Housewives. This is a soap opera. This is a drama. It's so much more fun if you read it in like a Keeping Up with the Kardashians cut style reality TV show. I can hear Abby Lee Miller saying these things.
Okay, so I gotta come in here. Okay. Big shout out to my boy Alex Albrecht, Shakespeare expert. Anything that I say that is interesting about the historical context of Shakespeare is actually him. I'm just a dum-dum. That part that you're just talking about where Hermia is on stage by herself and she says, what was it?
Basically, I'm amazed and yet have no words to say.
What I don't think modern audiences realize about historical Shakespeare is that the structure of a play was different then. It wasn't an event that you as an audience member were expected to sit and quietly watch. You literally interacted with the people on the stage. So when Hermia, when everybody else leaves and Hermia turns to the audience and says, I know not what to say, she is expecting the audience to yell back, call her a dumb bitch.
So this is the same energy as that one TikTok of the lady who's like, well, let me show the audience. She's the waitress. And the guy's like, I want a refund for my food. And he's eating all of it. And he's live streaming. She goes, well, let me show the audience. And his empty plate. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
Oh.
It is just like a breaking the fourth wall moment. But instead, I guess there was this invitation for audience participation in a way that is definitely not modern Broadway culture.
Absolutely not. And I think a lot of moments, and specifically this play, there are these sequences where characters will just explicitly turn to the audience, especially Puck. Puck is the hardest fourth wall breaker of all. They will explicitly turn to the audience and just say something. And the context that you, as a modern reader, have to put into this is that you're supposed to yell something back. There is a point where Puck is observing the rude mechanicals, the people who put on the play within a play, and he basically just turns to the audience and goes, "Get a look at these losers." And you, the audience, are supposed to be like, yeah, they're a bunch of fucking dorks.
So now we return to the rude mechanicals, because at this point in the story, we pivot a little bit to Queen Titania and Bottom, which is one of the troupe members. He's the one whose head has been turned into a donkey's. They don't use that word in the play. Titania wakes up, sees him, falls in love with him. It's like a whole sham, basically.
Because of the love potion that was put on her.
Right. And it's like a whole sham of like, haha, this is so silly. She's in love with an ass. Like, let's make fun of her. But Bottom's really into it for some reason. I think to me, the thing that made it easy for me to miss that his head had been turned into it is the fact that he acts so normal the whole time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, hey, if you're in any situation where the queen of the fairies falls in love with you, you just roll with it. Even if your head is a donkey's head.
Fair enough. But we see these events play out. Eventually, Oberon is like, okay, I've had my fun. all of the people come back. People fall asleep a lot in this play, randomly, and for seemingly no reason. But all of them come back to the Glen, and they lay down, and they fall asleep. And then Oberon and Puck are like, all right, this isn't fun anymore. I'm done. And they take off the love potions. And it just happens to be as Theseus and Hippolyta are like coming to this Glen because it's May Day. It's like a hunting ceremony of sorts. And so they're in the Glen, and then all of these people see them, and they're like, the fuck is going on?
You have made a factual error here. Oberon and Puck do not remove the love potion of everyone. Demetrius does not get his love potion removed, which is, if you want to get into the ethical analysis of what is going on here, that's fucking horrifying.
Isn't that
My
just
girl
obsession?
Helena about to find the love of her life is all I'm saying. No, there's actually a horror movie out, Obsession, right now.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's very similar to kind of that vibe. So it turns horror very
No.
quickly.
However, Demetrius does not get his love potion removed. He is forever in love with Helena against his will. This is not a scary or weird thing in the context of the play. This is a whimsical play. It is a joke.
I feel like you're almost supposed to be happy for Helena. Like it's almost like the happily ever after that we all wanted. It's like, okay, Lysander is back with Hermia as everything intended to be, and Helena finally gets her love as well. And so like everyone's happy. Okay, it's happily ever after. Really, story stack here. We do not believe in lack of consent.
Well, and Demetrius, okay, again, this is the comedy of the time. Demetrius is presented as the most asshole character in the entire play, even more so than the literal ass. He is presented as the most asshole character, so when he's the one who is still affected by the love potion, it's like, well, he had it coming. What a loser. In the context of the play.
He is a jerk to Helena, okay? Helena deserves so much better. She would be like, I love you so much, and he's like, you're the most hideous thing I've ever seen. I actually love Hermia so much, and I despise you and hate you and get out of my face. And then she's like, oh my gosh, but like I'm gonna follow you and love you forever. And it's like, girl, get a grip, okay?
I want to clarify here too. Helena's not ignorant of that. Like he's like, hey, I literally could not be paid to give a shit about you. And she's like, yeah, I know. And it kind of makes me love you more. Like she's fully aware. She's a grown woman. She's going to do what she's going to do.
That's why she's so relatable.
I know one of my annotations is like, get it together, girl, because get it together, girl. She is begging for this man's attention, and she's hot, okay? He's like, literally, do I entice you? Do I speak you fair? Or rather, do I not in the plainest truth tell you I do not, nor I cannot love you? And she goes, and even for that, do I love you the more? I am your spaniel. And Demetrius, the more you beat me, I will fawn on you. Girl, get a grip.
But all of that being said, going back to the idea that Demetrius just had it coming, Theseus agrees. Because when they find these people in the Glen, and they're all like, oh, well, we're back together, and we're together now, so it all kind of worked out, Theseus looks at Aegeus. Is that how we said it was pronounced?
Yes, that is Hermia's father.
Yeah, Hermia's dad's there too for some reason. Don't really know why he's out with the royal hunting pack May Day morning. But Theseus turns to him. He's like, yeah, I don't care what you want anymore. This is easier, so this is what we're doing. And he overrides Aegeus's like legal right to marry Hermia off.
Do we even know why Aegeus opposed of Lysander so much? Because I'm pretty sure, according to the text, Lysander is also of like noble, like good birth. Like he's from a good family. Like he's got the means. Like it would make sense for for Hermia and Lysander to get together.
I think it's just because he said so. He was like, no,
Yeah.
I made a deal with Demetrius, so I don't care what you want. This is what we're doing.
So, okay. So Shakespeare, especially at the time of writing Midsummer Night's Dream, a very progressive individual for his era. This, I would say, is 100% a commentary on fathers who are too traditional, fathers who believe they have full autonomy over their daughters. That's kind of the reason why Aegeus is presented at the beginning of, even though Lysander is a viable candidate for his daughter's marriage, he's like, no, my word is law. And Shakespeare is in fact making a commentary there.
So then all of the happy couples are together, and we go back to the palace, and we have the rude mechanicals give their play, and none of it made sense to me. And I will say I was speed reading it 20 minutes before we recorded this. So that might have been a factor.
That's the story stack way.
That might have been a factor. That's just a small reminder to all of our listeners that not only are we fantastic podcast hosts, but we're also students, we're also employees, and we graduate this week.
When you watch
so we
this
got some
episode,
stuff going on.
We will be graduated by the time this episode comes out. We literally will have bachelor's in writing degrees. So if we don't even understand it, and I didn't even speed read it 20 minutes before. I had time, and I read it yesterday, like very like being able to sit down and take my time with it. I could not give a shit about that play. I did not care. Like the whole idea of there's this character that dies in the play, and they're like, oh my gosh, we can't show the women the death of this character. But instead of like cutting out the death, let's just start the play by saying there's gonna be no death, and then do it anyway. Listen, I wasn't there. I wasn't with you, but luckily we have Gabriel, who knows our resident Shakespeare expert, who can explain the meaning behind the seemingly meaningless play. Because the only thing I was getting out of that play was the little comments that our actual like regular cast was making in between the play.
And as a quick meta moment before Gabriel gives us his fantastic analysis of the play at the end, I think this is the best moment of why Cocktails and Classics exist. Because, yeah, you could read it and not maybe understand all of it. But then that's when you talk to your friends and you figure out what it means.
Absolutely killer interjection, Ansley. And I am so glad to be that friend. And by me being that friend, I cannot stress.
Is that like 5 pages of notes?
Shut up. Shut up.
To our audio listeners, Gabriel has his computer up and he's got 5 pages of notes on what the play at the end means.
That's okay. No, it's overall notes.
Okay.
I'm not that crazy. I'm close, but I'm not that crazy. Shout outs to my boy, Alex Albrecht. Midsummer Night's Dream was written at the same time as Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet, I feel like I don't need to explain it to anyone. I mean, it's like required reading in all of high school, ? Romeo and Juliet is a tragedy of love. It is warring houses. It is lovers who are so torn apart by their circumstances that they end up committing suicide. If you read the play at the end, oh my God, where's my note? If you read the play within a play at the end, Thisbe and Pyramus, put on by the Rude Mechanicals, you will notice some incredible parallels to Romeo and Juliet. They do kill themselves at the end of the play within a play. In Thisbe and Pyramus, the main characters of A Midsummer Night's Dream are love line, love cube of Demetrius, Lysander, Helena, and Hermia, and even Theseus and Hippolyta all comment on this play. The play within a play, Thisbe and Pyramus. There is an absolutely hilarious part where I believe it's Thisbe stabs himself because he's so overcome with love. He stabs himself, and I forget who it is. It might be Theseus. Comments, man, if they just got a surgeon, I think they could fix that right up. And this is Shakespeare connecting to the writerly instinct of he had just, and I mean just, finished Romeo and Juliet. He was taking the idea of, oh, this play about love ends in tragedy and death. What if I did the opposite and commented on it? And that is the play within a play. It is this idea of the theater-going public of the time expecting tragedy, expecting all of this pain and suffering, and lampooning it. And even having the main characters within the play that we are reading, Midsummer Night's Dream, commenting on it, of how funny it all is. Like, this is not how it plays out. This is not how real life works. There is debatably the most iconic line from Midsummer Night's Dream: "The course of love never did run smooth." That is said at the beginning, and it is relevant to this play within a play at the end. Of the course of love never running smooth, but it's not the lambastic tragedy that so many people came to expect at the time. It's whimsical, it's weird, shenanigans happen, and even though Midsummer is steeped in fairies and magic, it presents love and the course of love in a truthful way. It's weirdness and it's road bumps. It never runs smooth, but it ultimately ends somewhere. I think that's all I have to say about the play within a play.
I don't know if I buy it. I don't know if I buy it, and I don't know if I like it. And maybe that's the bourbon not buying it and not liking it, but I don't like it. I think that Romeo and Juliet speaks for itself, and it's a fine play. And Romeo and Juliet isn't necessarily like it is a tragedy, but it is a like comedic tragedy. Like it is joking about love and the ridiculousness of the after effects of what happens in Romeo and Juliet. It is supposed to be like, oh my gosh, that's so ridiculous. Who would fall in love with someone in 3 days and then end in tragedy that way? Like, who would literally like give up their lives for the person that they have met 3 days ago? It's also a little bit manipulative because, sorry, Romeo is like old. Listen, 9th grade Lily was not messing around with Romeo and Juliet, okay? Romeo was creepy, Juliet was a victim, and literally like had so much potential with her life, and because Romeo was stupid, she now has to like suffer. Not fair.
So here's my Romeo and Juliet hot take to go off of that. It's not a love story. That's not what you were supposed to walk away from. This is a story about how stupid blind hatred is and how it wrecks generations. Because you open, in Verona, they don't even remember why they hate each other. They just hate each other for the game. They're literally just in it for the game. And that's why, like, when you get, the love is a little silly. Nobody's falling in love in 3 days. Nobody's killing themselves for somebody they met 2 days ago, It's because that's not the point. The point is that this is what hatred causes.
And I like that. But I don't like this sort of idea that I understand this subverting expectations, okay? You're going into A Midsummer Night's Dream and thinking, oh my gosh, Romeo and Juliet just came out. This is going to be another tragic love story. So why involve this play within a play that has a tragic love? It's almost like saying like he couldn't write a play that didn't end in tragedy. It is like he had his one shot of writing a play that didn't end in this sort of like tragic ending that Shakespeare is known for. Now, not all plays end in tragedy that Shakespeare has written. I do know this. But now there is this expectation that after Romeo and Juliet's success, that this is going to be another one of his tragedies because he is known for writing a good comedy and tragedy. And instead he's like, I could have ended this happily and surprised you, but also we're going to include this play within a play that is going to be tragic. So this play isn't tragic technically, but we're including a play that's tragic within this play. And now I'm lost, okay? And I'm having a great time reading this play. But I'm confused and I'm lost. I was smart enough to get the connections between the play within a play with the tragedy of Romeo and Juliet. I was like, oh, this kind of is like Romeo and Juliet a little. And then I was like, why not just call them Romeo and Juliet if he wrote that though? So I was just a little lost.
I mean, it's the distance of satire. It's like the play within a play is called Thisbe and Pyramus, and you're kind of supposed to You're supposed to get the connection.
Also, he couldn't call it Romeo and Juliet because we're with Theseus and Hippolyta. We're in ancient Greece, and Romeo and Juliet hasn't happened yet.
Oh,
Also
fair
that.
enough.
Paramus and Thebes.
We're-
Thisbe is a Greek like that would have been prevalent at the time.
The bourbon wants it to be named Romeo and Juliet.
But I think this is a very clear point before we move on that, like, again, you don't have to be scared about reading the classics, even if you don't understand everything that you're reading. Do a little Google, have a chat with your friends that are more educated on the topic, but don't just not read them because you're scared of not understanding them.
Ansley just said, like, her edition is less than 70 pages and it has footnotes. It is such a short play that to read it, you will be infinitely, like, more knowledgeable about the way that Shakespeare works. You don't have to, like, undertake this huge, like, script. Instead, you get something really concise. I know I'm complaining about it being convoluted, but it's pretty clear when you're in play and when you're in play within a play. You really get those cuts just fine. It, I think, is the play to get started with. I said that I got introduced with Much Ado About Nothing, but even that, upon research, is like well over 100 pages, can be over 200 pages when you're reading it. So this is, I think, the shortest Shakespearean play that I have consumed, and it isn't any more complicated than the others that I've read, and if anything, is simpler.
Guys, I did so much research for this. Can I just rapid fire a bunch of fun things?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Absolute shout out to the Rude Mechanicals. When they're first introduced, they have an entire conversation about how to properly implement a prologue into their play. And then they decide that the only way it's going to make sense is if they do 2 prologues. And then at the end, when they actually do the play, they have 2 prologues. And it's like, this is something we've talked about on StoryStack before, is that, like, prefaces and prologues are kind of useless because if it's an important part of the play or the story, why isn't it in the story? And that's a whole commentary on that. Very funny. A huge historical point about A Midsummer Night's Dream is that in the 1960s, there was a production of it by Royal Shakespeare Company, I believe it's Peter Brooks, that introduced surrealist elements into the actual production of the play. And it was such a wild success that weird stuff started happening with Shakespeare productions. You'd get stuff like Hamlet in space and things like that. And a lot of the modern perception of Shakespeare being, like, erudite and unapproachable actually kind of has to do with that movement. It got very artsy and avant-garde. That's not true. Shakespeare was always, he wrote his plays for the working class, for regular people. You were supposed to show up to these plays and it's sing-songy, it's in verse. You're supposed to, like, get into the melody of it. You're supposed to have fun. And Midsummer is a huge part of that. If you show up to any Midsummer play, you don't even need to understand what is happening to have fun. It's just the way the actors do the verse, the props, the sets, the fairies, it escaping to a whimsical fairyland and having love shenanigans going on. This is approachable. This is for you. It's for the people.
I also want to say, at the beginning of this episode, we mentioned that Shakespeare wasn't writing novels or poetry so much, like, as he's known for his script writing, but this play is very much poetic. Like, it is written lyrically. You're getting rhymes. You're getting, like, measured out stanzas almost. It is very poetic, which also makes reading it kind of easier. You're getting these sort of rhymes, and you kind of can figure out where the thoughts end based on the way that Shakespeare was writing his rhymes. I thought that was a really nice device that he used in writing Midsummer Night's Dream. Also, shortened to Midsummer a lot because, you know, when you're in theater, you're just saying performing Midsummer. You're not saying I'm performing a Midsummer Night's Dream. But then there has to just be this 2019 thriller, whatever, called Midsummer.
Love that movie. Great movie.
Spelled with an O. Never watched it. Florence Pugh, though, is a queen, so I'm sure she did amazing.
That's a great movie.
But now every time you say Midsummer, you have to specify whether you're talking about a Midsummer Night's Dream or you're talking about Midsummer with Florence Pugh. Very different, mind you.
Also, rapid fire note that I forgot to say, because I think this is very relevant, especially to our audience. A Midsummer Night's Dream, not Midsommar, a Midsummer Night's Dream, really was Shakespeare's experiment with, I think the best way you can describe it is fan fiction. There are a lot of historical characters and characters from previous works that Shakespeare just wanted to play with. Theseus and Hippolyta, historical mythology characters, but also elements of them he's specifically pulling from Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. The fairies, Oberon, Titania, and Puck, these are folklore characters that have been around forever. Titania specifically finds a connection to Ovid's Metamorphoses, in addition to the tradesmen, Nick Bottom, Peter Quince. Fan fiction's cool. Even Shakespeare did it. Okay, I'm done. I'm out. I've checked out.
So as we said before, this is our season 1 finale on Story Stack. And to be honest, it was an accident, but I don't think we could have landed on a better story to close with. Since our inception, we were focused not just on being a book podcast, not just on being a TV show podcast, not a movie podcast, not a music podcast. We were looking for stories. We were looking for narratives that were compelling, that we felt we could talk about, share with an audience. Midsummer Night's Dream is a play that you can read as a book, that you can watch as a play. There have been multiple movie versions put out, whether they were actual adaptations of the play or inspired by the play. And I think all of it just goes to show that stories span mediums, stories span generations, and they can touch anybody so long as you're actually paying attention. And that's been the mission of Story Stack, I would say.
Thank you so much for hanging around for season 1. We will be back for season 2. This isn't the end. This isn't goodbye forever. So don't cry just yet. We'll be back with more stories, better books, better plays, better movies, better stories in general.
We will be delivering on that Animal Kingdom episode. I will get you, Sean Hattasey.
This is so fun. I love Story Stack.
I love
I
Story
love
Stack.
Story Stack too. We'll see you soon.